She's here.
Oh, there she is.
I can see her.
Yeah.
She's here. She's not talking, but she's here.
Maria, do you have a microphone?
She talking? I can't.
I don't know.
Oh, we could probably start. She'll have to figure out how to.
Cool. Hey, Justin, you want to give us an opening prayer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I appreciate it.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so very grateful for the opportunity that we have to meet together this evening as a group in this organizational effectiveness class. We're grateful for the opportunity that we've had to study this case between workers and we're grateful that we were able to learn about the different dynamics and conflicts that can exist, and we ask that would please help us to understand the best practices for resolving conflicts and strengthening relationships in all areas of our lives. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 So I guess she'll be recording it, right? Since it's her.
Oh, right. It looks like
you can start recording.
Yeah.
Okay. She said yes, I am.
Yeah, or she said, I asked if she has a mic.
It must not be working, but she's here, so.
Cool. All right, we'll just keep plugging along then.
Okay.
So I'll read. It says, read the brief the case. I'll give you the background. The case describes the dilemma of a marketing manager, Thomas Green, who, after being rapidly promoted to a new position, is harshly criticized by his boss. Green and his boss disagree on work styles and market projects. Green believes the sell goals set by his boss are based on creative accounting and grossly overstated the current market environment. A mood of silent conflict develops quickly between Green and his boss, and Green is concerned that his boss is building a case to fire him. Green's situation is one in which his failure to adapt to the work style and fully understand the demands and boundaries of his new position may lead to his discharge. All right.
Yeah. Tough situation.
It is, yeah. So it says, what do you see as the key issue in this case?
I think there's a lot of pride going on. It looks like to me, it's, and maybe not the best communication.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like to me, it sounds like Green is probably a little bit right about what was his name? Davis? Is that what it was? Not wanting him on the team.
Oh, Frank Davis, his boss?
No, so it sounds like let's see, we've got McDonald. She obviously she's the one that hired Green.
Right.
But and then I guess where I'm coming from is on his first day, she's like, hey, it might be a little awkward with Davis because you weren't exactly his choice. So I think he's, a little bit right, thinking that Davis is kind of out to get him. But I also think that he may not be communicating the best with Davis.
Right. Yeah, and then I was thinking maybe Frank Davis, he didn't really get to, sounds like he didn't get a say in the hiring process, and it was McDonald's friend, and she was doing a favor for him, and I think in the case he actually skipped a position. I read it 3 days ago where he actually jumped the ladder and didn't have all the background like the other guys would have had in that position that he took.
Oh yeah, he was very new. Didn't have near the tenure as probably most of Davis's choices.
Right, because he was Davis is 20 or not. Green's 28, and the other guys are like 40 plus. And
Yeah, Frank Davis 45, McDonald's 42. So Thomas Green he's doing well for himself, but he needs to figure things out quick. Obviously, it's a pretty dire situation.
Well, McDonald's kind of set him up to fail too. Honestly.
I agree.
The company culture, it wasn't typical to do what she did, you know. And maybe Green felt like he was somewhat protected or shielded too, because, you know, Big Boss kind of had his back kind of thing. But once he was on board, she just kind of like
left him high and dry,
kicked him out from.
You're on your own.
Like, go figure it out. But Davis too. He had done that position, right? So he's going to be extra critical of anybody else who's trying to do the same job that he just got promoted from, right?
Right.
Yeah,
there's smart politics there for sure.
Right, but I thought it was interesting how Green he recognized almost, I don't know, maybe too late, that he's like, oh shoot, I haven't really talked to McDonald's since she hired me. Like, there really was some miscommunication there that she probably should have. He probably should have stuck a little closer to her for a little bit longer before he ventured out on.
It would have been good. It would have been really good for all three of them to get in a room and just to start, laying out expectations, and then you can manage those expectations as time goes on. But none of them knew what the left or right hand was saying. It was all, he was getting one message from McDonald, getting no message from Frank Davis, his actual boss. He didn't make an effort to go align with him, and there should have been people coming halfway to have those conversations.
Right. Yeah. He kind of had these. He had these thoughts, that Davis was kind of colluding against him, but he never really actually went to him to clear that up. And just kind of left it a mystery.
Even before all that, before you even get that hint from your boss, that the second that McDonald told him, oh, and by the way, there might be some bad water already between you and your boss, because this first pick, I would have gone straight to my boss and said, hey, listen, I'm excited for this opportunity. And I from what I'm hearing, you had someone else you had lined out for this position, and I'm hoping that I don't let you down on this. Let's talk about what you expect. Let's get aligned so that we can manage expectations and get off on the right foot. But none of that happened.
Hello.
Hey, Marie.
Hey, Marie.
So I have to access
Marie.
Hi. Sorry about that. My link didn't work on my computer, and it works on my cell phone. So
okay.
But it's recording on my computer. So
okay, good. Yeah, just as long as we manage that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, I agree with all what you guys said. So.
Cool.
There's a lot of pride and a self-centeredness in that group of people.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Yeah. Green. Go ahead. Yeah. Go to the next question.
You can keep talking. I'm not gonna.
Now let's move on.
All right. If you were Shannon McDonald, would you have hired Thomas Green? Why or why not?
I wouldn't have hired him on my own.
Yeah.
I think I would have got the guy. I would have got his boss involved.
Right.
Whoever's going to be mad, he should have had some decision in that.
Yeah, I agree. I maybe would have hired Green, but I would have had to really fight for it with Frank Davis.
Yeah, well, I would probably they don't manage proper guidance to the management people with with your direct report, and I'll hire you. But
you're cutting out kind of bad, but I think.
Sorry, Marie. We're having a real hard time hearing you. It's the internet's cutting out.
What a loser.
We agree. Next question.
Yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah. Describe Frank Davis. What does he value, and then what is the end goal he is after?
So
Like
I
just-
mean, he's been with the company for a long time, 17 years that he's been with them. He knows his stuff, and I think, I mean, this is his career. It's
Right.
Yeah, you don't just stick with a company that long and not intend on it being the one that you kind of retire from. So
Right.
I think his true intention is that he really cares about the company. Yeah, I think he's maybe stuck in his ways a little bit as far as new ideas, but I think deep down he really does. His number one priority is the health of the company.
I'd agree. I think more than anything, he just wants to be involved. He wants to know what's going on. You know, he's a young kid in an important position, and he's got to not just Green being successful, but his department. You know, that's his role.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He wants to help. I really think he wants to help, but he can't help if he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, they don't the same between Green and McDonald. Their goals are not aligned to each other.
Mm.
They wanted to do something for the company, but yet they don't got it. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going two different ways. If I'm hearing you're still kind of choppy, but it sounds like you're saying Green's going one way and Davis is going the other direction.
Marie, maybe try turning off the camera. It might free up some space for the mic.
okay. Hold on. Is that better? Or unless my little guy is playing
That's a lot better.
computer. Oh, good.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you now. We didn't hear the last 2 minutes you were saying. It was really choppy.
Oh, I was saying that when they put Green into that position, they never really laid out the plan, you know, and there's a lot of this is my way and that's, you know, and I do my way, but yet it's important to meet together. Three of them, they should meet together and discuss what really their main goal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep, agreed.
Definitely.
That's critical. That should have been one of the first things that happened. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, they really should not have gone as long as they have without a meeting like that.
All right. It says describe Thomas Green's what does he value and what is his end goal he is after.
I think
he's just after for himself.
Yeah, I think Thomas wants to make a name for himself. He's young. He's got a lot to prove. He's just been given this really high profile job that, probably a lot of people in the company don't really think that he deserves.
Right.
So I think he really is, wants to do some good things for the company. I also think he's very overwhelmed. He's got a lot going on right now.
Right. Yeah, I'd have to agree. He wants to shine and fill in those shoes that he can do the job and be successful. But like you said, I think he's got a lot going on for being young, and he was in the middle of move-in and a bunch of family life situation going on that can put a toll. And
yeah,
I think give him the benefit of the doubt to think that he really does have aspirations to build something for the company, because he had a lot of good ideas that
Mhm.
but he never put it on paper, and he never communicated to his boss. But it sounded like he had a lot of things going. He just didn't. He wasn't making good steps with it. It was just kind of scattered, and he had a lot of good ideas though.
Right.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like he really impressed McDonald. But I don't know if maybe he changed what he was doing after he got that job. It kind of sounds like he maybe stepped back from the building relationship side.
Yeah, that's what is common in some sorry to say youngster, because I think I'm older than every one of you. That they just want to speed up their career, and yet they are not willing to take in the mentor-mentee kind of mentality, you know.
Right.
They just, I want to do it this my way, but yet is it really working that way or not? You know, there's no flexibility. And the first time he was talked to by Davis, he should have realized that already. But he's so focused on himself and what's going on in his problems in life and things like that. But learning how to gear in different direction when you're at work, it's something that it's an ability to be able to apply and be able to be successful in what you do if you know, eliminate the personal thing while you're at work. So
Definitely. All right, we'll move to the next question. How do the actions Thomas Green differ from the expectations of Frank Davis? I think we kind of talked about that. The next one is, who's mostly at fault for the state of the current situation? I want to say they're kind of both at fault for not having that communication, like we've talked about at the beginning, and really getting to know each other and what are those expectations. And then Green not communicating to Frank when he sends him emails or kind of asks him updates of his agenda, and he's just kind of blowing him off.
Yeah, I think obviously I think they all share responsibility, but I would say I don't know, it's because it sounded like Frank Davis was kind of making an effort. I would probably put more of the responsibility on Frank, just because he's in a position more of making real changes. I mean, McDonald, she's over several different departments, so but he's really just over those senior market specialists.
yes.
So I would say he could probably stand to put in some more time, some more soft skills.
Well, I guess in behind that is that he was upset that his choice was not picked for the job, and so he can't get over that. Instead of giving the opportunity and a chance to mentor Green, he just kind of partially did it, but not fully, because in the first place, he still had that mentality that his pick didn't get in place. It's a corporate politics kind of thing. Type thing.
Yeah. Definitely. What actions would you take if you were Thomas Green?
I'll change.
If I was Thomas Green, I would I'd want to be setting up a meeting real quick with both Frank Davis and Shannon McDonald, just to discuss some goals and possibilities for the future. I mean, it sounds like Frank Davis has his feelings are a little bit hurt at this point. You know, obviously looking to get rid of Thomas. So I'd want to make sure that I try to mend that relationship before I go any further.
Right.
Yeah, it's also like sit down with them and know the expectations of everybody and what's your expectation and what should and somehow that will set something in straight.
Yeah. I think managing expectations is really what this all comes down to. And it's not just knowing what the expectations are, you got to know the why behind it. I mean, kind of like how Davis had asked him to provide him an org chart of some of the top companies so he knew who the decision makers were. And Thomas Green see the value in that. So maybe there's just, if he just asked why, what's important to you, with an open mind, he would have the opportunity there to learn more about why it matters. You know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't understand everything. There's more for him to learn, but you don't know that just by knowing the expectations. You got to understand why the expectations matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I agree. I think Davis needs to be willing to be more, not maybe open, but willing to help and like, hey, look, this is how it's been working for me the last so many years. This is how we get to that. I mean, I'm here to listen to your ideas as well, but this is what's been working for the company and how we're getting from A to B to C.
If I was Thomas Green, I would probably fall in line and just start jumping through hoops. I would gain my trust. I'd want to get back on his good side, get his support so that he's in my corner. And once you have developed that trust and that relationship, I think the reins can be loosened. He can probably go off and start selling his own style and doing what he's good at the way he wants to do it. But until then, he has to earn it.
I agree.
And in the case, I've read that one of the person that works with him, he likes that person likes green, and that's a good rapport with clients, and yet he does not have the backup written plan to support his selling technique. He sells things to the people by words, and yet there's no data to present and when people are asking for it, and which is not good when it comes to really selling to dealing with big companies. You need, or even small companies will look for what about proof that it is going to be working,
Right, which is funny because he second guessed his boss's forecast, right? So he understands the importance of data,
right?
And that's another thing that shot him in the foot is right out of the gate. It's like if I had a problem with my new boss and his forecast, I would have said after the meeting, hey, you got a minute? I'm really your forecast really is interesting to me. Do you have a minute? You can show me how you came up with those numbers and I can learn from you, rather than saying no, that's wrong.
Right.
Yes.
I agree.
I think your forecast is exciting, and I really want to learn more about your analysis. Do you have some time to teach me? Things like that.
Yeah, that's a great comment.
Definitely, Green was negative right at the start when he told him 10%. So didn't have an open mind.
Yeah, it's what's missing is the additional reading that was given to us, the balancing inquiry and advocacy. He inquires, yet never is that inquiry is really something to build up the relationship or to tear it down. And so what happened is he left that hanging question, you're wrong, this is too high of a goal, but didn't really, as Casey said, didn't really set foot on what needs to be done or talk to him afterwards. So,
and healthy debates are good and important, and they can usually bring progress. But once there's a path forward, everybody needs to get behind it. You can't agree to something in one room and then go different directions when you leave the room.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Negativity is not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, and other people will feed on it too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because he's not the only senior market specialist. There's two others. I wonder, didn't say anything about them, but I wonder if he had if he talked to them, or if he would benefit from talking to them and learn more about the culture.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
He didn't reach out to other people that's been there long before him,
Yeah. He's kind of isolating himself at a point where he should be doing exactly the opposite.
Definitely.
Sometimes when a bright person and very talented person, sometimes arrogance goes with it. So that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, I went through those questions pretty quick. So there's an analyst section that says, how does the power and office politics come into play? I think we kind of hit on that at the beginning.
Yeah, it's in play throughout the whole scenario. From the second that him and McDonald, from the second that Green and McDonald started talking to, it didn't include Frank. Even McDonald knew that she was taking a risk. She was okay with it, but the fact that there was a risk there, she should have talked to his direct report, which would have been Frank Davis.
Right.
And she knew she messed up. I mean, when she told Green that, hey, you're kind of stepping into a tough situation here, it's like, well, okay, before we move forward,
right,
how can we make that easier?
Yeah.
Because if you know there's a problem, it's not just enough to identify it. You should, especially someone in her position where she's, such a huge leadership role, like there should be a little more on her end than just saying, hey, a heads up, there's a problem here.
Pretty much good luck.
Right, exactly.
Make the best out of it.
Present action or a remedy,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right, she could have at least, told him like, hey, jump through these hoops for the first little while. Get Frank Davis on your side before you start sharing these great ideas that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, most leaders will present a problem. Follow up with a solution, a recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see here. What do you think? What steps can Green take to build a better relationship? I guess it could be as well as Frank Davis. We could kind of talk about both of them.
Yeah. So this goes back to, I don't think it was this class, maybe last week's lesson. Was it the other? Is it the case study? I might be getting my classes confused, but in one of my classes, it talked about it was about a guy from Google. Do you guys remember that, or is that a different class?
Yeah.
That was last week. That was last week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, open up to one another and build that personalized intimacy into people's lives, and then, people start caring more about each other. They're pretty distant. They know nothing about each other other than things they like about each other. They need to start learning more about each other,
right,
to gain that respect.
Yeah, that psychological safety, I think, is the term that we used.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not a lot of it in this relationship between McDonald, Davis, and Green.
Right. Yep. There could be, but they're both going opposite directions.
Mm-hmm.
They might have more in common than they realize it.
Yeah, I mean, they both. I mean, look at their backgrounds. They both came from sales.
Mm-hmm.
That right there should be a huge, point to have in common. and they both
I know.
obviously care about the company.
They both might have stage 4 cancer. Who knows?
Yeah.
They might. But, it's unlikely. But definitely they need to be talking a lot more, and Green needs to kind of cool it a little bit. It seemed like he was letting his, I think Marie was saying, he was letting his busy schedule, I think, get in the way of this incredible learning opportunity. I mean, it's not
Yes.
every day that you get this huge promotion. Plus, your leader has been in the game for 17 years.
There's a lot to learn from that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Huge opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I guess every workplace, where you go, no matter what kind of industry you work for, you'll find some people like that are not willing to build that relationship with coworkers, and they felt like they are all above everyone else, and that is not healthy, being around those people. And I've been in it many times. Every time I go, so it's worse too when it comes to women. All full of women. An office full of women. That's also a different situation. And I can work well, women or men, but I end up with working with women that has once they have their authority or power, they think that they're above everyone else. Trying to understand what you're trying to say or trying to do, they push you down instead of lift you up.
Mm-hmm.
So once they get power, they turn into a man.
Yes. Just kidding. Yeah, it's a power thing. I don't. I think it's both men and women when it comes to certain mentality. It depends on a person. It depends how they were raised. Depends on what values they have.
Mm-hmm.
I think values within the family that carried through can be seen in the workplace.
Yeah. I think also too, going back to that principle of psychological safety, I think it's just a matter of how serious you take that principle. Because there's times where you just really don't even think about it, how your actions are affecting, the environment of where you're at.
Okay, no.
Maybe if you turn the microphone off of the computer.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
Somehow I decided to start working.
Right. Yeah. But I think, if you just remind yourself about that psychological safety principle, because it doesn't, as Google found out, it doesn't matter how smart you are or what your IQ is.
Mm-hmm.
If that psychological safety doesn't exist, you're not really going anywhere as a team.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
All right. In my current job right now, these women have been doing this job for a long time, and a new company bought them 2 years ago. Another company bought them 2 years ago, and none of them got really promoted in higher position. For 17 years doing, and then I came in, start working this year in January. Then the new company bought us in June. The transition came in, and there's a lot of opportunity there, but a lot of people are just satisfied where they are. But I'm not. I wanted to grow, and I wanted to learn a lot of more things, and I felt right now that I have potentials that I'm not it's not being used, because I'm in the front line, teller, and they're not teaching me other things, so I'm trying to learn it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to build rapport with them and trying to understand where they're coming from, but their negativity, it drags the whole division or the whole branch.
Mhm.
So I can't say anything to them at the moment because they always give me a, a stink eye or a rolling eye. So when I say something, they give me all this, and then had a chance to meet the my boss's boss. It's the area, like a regional vice president, and he likes baseball. He watched my son's baseball. I didn't invite him, but he invited himself to watch my son's baseball. I got to ask him about his family.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
connected with him that way. There's not because I know him, and they give the situation different meaning. But for me, in order for me to work with somebody, if he ends up being my boss later on, my immediate supervisor, if he ends up, then I can work well with him because I know about a little bit more about his family and about his interest, and he met my whole family, my husband, my son. So the relationship is there, as a working relationship is there.
Yeah.
So
Really cool.
you're building trust.
Yeah. That's cool that you at least you have that relationship with senior management. It's tough when it doesn't translate to lower,
Yeah.
Right.
lower on the totem pole. That's really a tough situation.
Yes.
Definitely. In conclusion, there's what do you call a paragraph I'll read. It says, after McDaniel's February 5th, 2008 email, Green took the offense against his boss. He crafted a series of emails, reports, and projections that exposed inaccuracies in creative forecasting. This data enabled Green to build some alliances with other marketing personnel who used the data to ultimately side with him. On April 4th, it was announced that Frank Davis was being moved laterally to an undefined special project. However, Green's tactics were seen as overly brutal by many in the company. And although he won the battle against his boss, his career was just lost my spot. Imperial harm. McDonald distanced herself from him. By July of 2008, Green announced he was resigning from his position to do a full-time studies for his MBA. It's just crazy how something could have been fixed at so early or nipped in the bud, but now everyone
It's a lose-lose.
Yeah, no one won.
Yep.
It affects as an individual, each individual and the company loses out because they're both successful individuals that could have brought the company up, but since they didn't get over their pride and their button heads at the beginning, and like we said, all three of them should have sat down at the beginning, the expectations, and
ultimately it reflects bad on McDonald as well.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think it started with her. It should have. She should have been the first one to correct that action. If Frank had an issue with her hiring Green, they should have. But she should involve maybe Frank more in that decision too as well. But.
Yeah, I think that was probably the best outcome for Green's willingness to, or I guess him not being willing to change, is just to leave. That's really kind of the only other option, because otherwise it would have just been miserable, or he probably would have just been let go at some point.
Right.
So that's tough. That's a rough one. That was not a happy ending.
I know. Anyone have any other comments? Or
I'm just glad that we can learn from other people's mistakes.
Right. Yeah. Don't be like Thomas Green.
Definitely.
if he's going back on the freeway.
All right, so I got a question. It's not really topic related, but I'm the leader next week. Do you use the Google Hangouts on Air from YouTube? Is that how you access that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you go to your YouTube account, and there should be a creator studio.
Okay.
And then
I've seen that.
yeah, and so you'll create an event. So you'll have to make it public
Yes. Yeah.
in order for us to go on. But
Yeah, I've done that before. It's just been a while, so I had to. Thanks for jogging my memory.
yeah, for sure.
I don't know, because I know Dad's going to be hungry.
All right.
I think that's it. Did we lose Marie? I can't hear her anymore.
Yeah, I think we lost her again.
Okay.
We can just go.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
See you guys next week.
All right. Yeah. See you next week.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Can you Google map it and send it to him on